Hi, I'm Chris Brown with Automotive Fleet, and welcome to another video in the State of the Fleet Industry video series. I recently attended the 2025 Geotab Connect conference in Orlando, and I had a chance to sit down with Geotab executives Mike Branch, Sabina Martin, and Geotab founder and CEO Neil Cawse. We discussed the evolution of connected vehicles, from AI and sustainability to new telematics functions coming online. We also discussed the biggest challenges for fleets in the year ahead.
The Voyager Fleet program offers advanced controls, real-time alerts, and flexible purchase settings that help prevent fraud and employee misuse. Take control of your operations and keep every dollar working for your fleet.
Hey, it's Chris Brown with Automotive Fleet, and I'm here with three Geotab executives: Mike Branch, VP of Data Analytics; Sabina Martin, Vice President of Product Management; and Neil Cawse, Founder and CEO of Geotab. Thanks for joining us.
Pleasure being here.
Well, I was at Geotab Connect last year, and the talk was all about AI. Is AI still the elephant in the room, or has something taken over that in terms of the number one position that we're all talking about?
I mean, I can take a first crack at that, Chris. AI is still very much a going concern. We've seen so much improvement over the last year, new models that have been released. We've seen the cost of some of these AI models, generative AI models, drop quite considerably as well. Still, the biggest problem with AI is that it can hallucinate, right? It can tell you things that might not always be the same every single time you ask a question. So over the last years, we're looking at our analytics assistant, ACE. What we've been doing, spending a lot of time with customers, deeply trying to understand what kinds of questions that they're asking, so that we have a really good understanding and deep knowledge of a specific set of trusted questions, right? So we can route the proper answers to those customers in timely fashion. So, I mean, AI is still very much a huge part of our DNA. It has been for many, many years, right?
For sure.
Yeah, I think as well, all of these things go through a bit of a hype cycle, right? And all new technology that comes out, we go through this kind of like hype phase, and then we go through the kind of trough of disillusionment, and then we kind of end up, and I think we're going to be heading into a little bit of that. And, Geotab just sees so much value behind the AI, the way AI can change telematics when you're talking about large amounts of data. I think that we're going to see past that. And I understand that people are sick of hearing about AI, but yeah, we're going to stick to it.
Maybe just to add to that, I think that from our customer perspective, if I compare last year to now, they're less so asking about AI, but they're more so expecting more automated and simple solutions. So in their mind, they know that that's what's possible. Behind the scenes, it's our job to figure out if we're going to leverage AI to do that.
For sure. Well, that leads into my next question, actually. What are Fleet's biggest challenges this year?
Yeah. I can have a stab at that if you want first. I think that we're in a geopolitical uncertainty period, right? Which obviously, being an owner of a company, and I'm sure, other leaders have the same problem, is we want to grow our businesses and we need to invest money in growth. So we want to buy new vehicles, we want to grow into new markets. And when we're not sure what the costs are going to be or what the circumstance is going to be, it's a difficult time. So what we typically do is we'll pull back a little bit, build up a little bit of a war chest so that we know what's happening. And so we do expect there to be some pullback in terms of investment. And I think that's on the minds of anybody who's involved in procurement of vehicles or expanding their fleet or stuff like that. That certainly, there are other challenges that we're facing, like driver shortage is a real big one, right? Where we just, the number one employer in North America is truck driver. Number two is, junior teacher, but number one is truck driver. And so I speak to some of the best firms, and they have attrition rates of around 30% for their drivers. So trying to manage that driver retention, look after drivers, recruit drivers is a tough problem.
I was also in the room with a series of CIOs from some of our top fleet customers yesterday, and still this notion of managing all this data. They're having to manage not only the fleet data, but data for the entire organization, which sits in many different silos. From a technical perspective, this whole notion of data management still is a growing concern. That was probably one of the number one issues that we talked about yesterday.
And then I think just lastly, Neil kind of alluded to this, but just reducing cost, right? The state of the economy, the state of the uncertainty. They want tools that can help them cut vehicle costs, make better decisions, prevent downtime, cut costs related to collisions and risks. So I would say cost is a very big theme across the board, and making sure that they can see that return on investment.
Absolutely. Well, 4.7 million vehicles connected through Geotab. How do you see fleet's sustainability and electrification and carbon reductions goals? How do you see that? It could be a very disruptive year ahead in that market.
Yeah.
How do you see that evolving?
So we see the world changing slightly from, again, somewhat due to the geopolitical climate, from the focus on sustainability, at least in North America, moving away from direct sustainability to maybe more efficiency. So I think there's a lot of work that we can do to help out with our sustainability goals by focusing on efficiency. If we can use the right vehicle for the right job, make sure that we're not over idling, cutting fuel consumption, optimizing routing, I think we can achieve good milestones towards those goals without having to embark on more risky projects around employing EVs, for example, and growing. I think other markets are different. Europe is, moving pretty far ahead. We've seen, 8% of the vehicles sold in Europe are electric vehicles, which, 8% of the total, in fact, pool is 8%. So, we're seeing good, good momentum there. And I think there might be a bifurcation somewhat of the two markets.
Interesting.
Yeah. I would say also global fleets as well seem to still have emission targets. It's definitely shifted more towards cost overall, but everyone's thinking about a mixed fleet strategy. So is it suitable for me to go electric if it's going to help me reduce your costs? And then depending on where you're located and what incentives you have might change what that total cost of ownership looks like.
Tell us about some of the exciting things that is happening in the marketplace and the tools that fleets can really take advantage of that they may not have thought that they could through a telematics system just 5 years ago.
Yeah, I'll maybe cover this a bit. I think a big change for the marketplace before I get into some of the solutions is we've removed a lot of friction in the process. And so now when you go to our store, we've really streamlined the buying and the installation journey. I'm going to go over this a bit more in tomorrow's keynote. And so with a few simple clicks, they can install additional solutions. And so we launched Software Order Now. We have solutions related to tolling to help fleets manage, is it more efficient or is it more costly to leverage tolls as part of their routing? We have driver coaching solutions. As you heard today, our new joint venture with Geotab Vitality, I think, how can we really drive behavior change? We talked a lot about safety and helping drivers reduce their collision risk with rewards, but we don't see it stopping there. Drivers are such a big part of helping fleets achieve their KPIs. And so whether it's helping them manage their HOS violations, or they're doing a great job keeping on top of their HOS logs, or they're helping reduce idling, we see a world where rewarding them for that positive behavior may take place. So yeah, and we continue to have lots of camera partners, asset tracking partners, you name it.
I think we talked about this before, where telematics has changed from being a horizontal product where everybody gets the same vanilla flavor to one that is very hyper-specific industry by industry. And what is critical is that I don't think that one company can be all things to all people. And the necessity of having a great ecosystem where we can take these Lego building blocks and assemble these pieces to create the perfect solution for what you're looking for in your particular industry is really becoming critical. I think it's the future of telematics.
And also, I think just having that central platform that can integrate all of these solutions into one place, because if you think about a fleet manager, it's really hard for them to log into all these multiple work tools. And so I think that's the power of the ecosystem and this two-way interoperability.
Sure. Yeah. Last question. So 5 years from now, what will be the elephant in the room? What are we to be talking about 5 years from now?
And I mean, I still think that, we are at our infancy when it comes to AI, right? If you look at the AI revolution, we're right here. So I think in 5 years' time, we will see that much more expanded, right? Instead of maybe talking about APIs and how systems connect, maybe you're talking about how Geotab's AI is able to converse with other systems, right? And what is going to be the future state of things like quantum computing? There's a big unknown there, and how that's going to accelerate what you can do with AI. So I think there will still be a heavy talk track on AI, but it's just going to be much, much, much more mature at that point.
Yeah. Do you want to go ahead?
I was just going to say, to add to Mike's, I think as well, we're going to be talking a lot more about recommendations, so not just insights, but recommendations, telling the fleet managers what they should do, doing most of the work for them, hopefully, and they're just overseeing so they can save a lot of that operational time and really just focus on making an impact.
Would it be more predictive, maybe, in a sense?
Potentially, yeah, predictive or more just spelling out of what they need to focus on, because we'll be able to personalize insights more, etc.
It seems part of the vitality, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see a world that's actually going to be quite different. I think between 5 and maybe 7, 10 years, we're going to see this change where, if you go back to, I think it was 1903, East Street, New York City, and there was a picture taken, very famous picture taken, where all you see is horse and carts. And then you fast forward 10 years to 1913, same viewpoint, same picture. And now all you can see is Model T Fords and you can spot one horse. And I think that we must realize this revolution can happen. We don't see it for long periods of time and then we get rapid changes. And I do believe that what is going to bring rapid change is obviously the AI, but it's particularly the autonomy element. Obviously there's concern that, if we do have full autonomy, all that biggest employer, now all of those people disappear and all of those jobs are now taken by an AI. But I think the big point is, we'll retrain, we'll figure it out. The big point is that the world is going to become unimaginably wealthy, in my opinion, over the next 5 or 10 years due to AI being able to do all of the work on our behalf, giving us so much more free time. Really, we become the manager. This is the co-pilot, and we're sitting there just keeping an eye on things. And we will really be sitting, popping in for a couple of hours a day, making sure that the dashboard's running smoothly, that the goals are set up the way that I want to set them up, and effectively we'll have much more autonomous running of all of the telematics, of all of the machines. And I know it sounds fanciful. I know it does, but honestly, go look at Waymo. Go and get in a Waymo vehicle, drive around in a Waymo vehicle, and then tell me that in 5 years' time this cannot totally change all of transportation.
Well, we will be here 5 years from now to talk exactly about that. Neil, Sabina, and Mike, thank you much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Chris.